Every business owner wants to make more money, work less, and grow faster. But most are buried in the busy work that keeps them stuck in the weeds. And look, the truth is, the difference between a business that scales and one that stalls usually comes down to one thing, and that's leverage. And that's where virtual assistants come in. They're not just task takers. When hired the right way, they become an extension of your business, freeing you up to focus on strategy, growth, and decisions that actually move the needle. I'm Chris Martin. I've built multiple seven-figure businesses powered completely by remote teams, and I've helped hundreds of founders do the exact same thing. So in this video, I'm going to break down exactly why every business needs to hire virtual assistants and how the right ones can completely change the way that you operate, scale, and buy back your time. So in 2026, the real competitive advantage is really going to be about how efficiently you deploy leverage, not necessarily how many hours you're working. It's a common misconception to many entrepreneurs that the harder you work, the further you're going to get. That couldn't be farther from the truth, because obviously you could be working on the wrong things and not getting to where you need to be as a result of that. What you really need to be focusing on is how to apply as much leverage as humanly possible to what it is that you're doing. So for you selfishly and personally as the founder, what you need to be focusing on is freeing up as much of your time as humanly possible. And then with that newfound time, you need to deploy your time, energy, and resources to the highest producing ROI activity humanly possible every single day, all day. Anything that is worth less than your time needs to be delegated immediately and given to somebody else. Your competitors that are growing faster than you, they're probably not even working harder than you. They're likely just more efficient allocators of leverage and energy. They're better at finding those little differences, those little arbitrages that give them so much more productive output per unit of hour work. So how do virtual assistants fit into this concept that I'm talking about? Well, it's really quite simple. As you're growing and scaling your business, you have to be hiring people. You have to be creating systems and processes and creating roles for people to work in. But what usually slows you down is that when you have to pay a US salary or even an hourly wage for that person, you won't be able to hire as many people as quickly as you could if the wages were lower. So by hiring offshore professionals, because the wages are 80 to 90% less, you can hire people much sooner in your business. You can afford to take more risks. And as a result of hiring more people sooner and faster, you're able to just grow your business faster. Okay, so let's quickly talk about the true cost of doing everything yourself. Now, sometimes founders think that they're saving money by doing all the operations themselves. Maybe it's a little bit of them trying to save money, and maybe it's a little bit of them just being fearful of relinquishing control of anything that they deem that only they can do themselves. I have this conversation with our clients all the time. They're stuck in the weeds. They're running the day-to-day. They're managing their team. They're interfacing with clients. They're tracking KPIs and dashboards and basically trying to be in the weeds of like what's going on in the business day-to-day. Many of them don't even know that it's optional, that they don't need to be doing those things, that they could go and hire someone and plug them into their business to be at the core of their business, like an oak tree who all the clients come to, who puts out all the fires and also ensures that the wheels of the business are turning on a daily basis. For about $1,500 a month, you could very easily go and hire somebody in the Philippines to act as your operations manager, operations director, COO, whatever you want to call it. And at this $1,500 a month amount, you can get some very high quality professionals who have experience managing dozens, if not hundreds of other people in their previous role. So look, if you're one of the people that I described before that thinks that they're saving money by not hiring someone to take over the operations of their business, you're thinking in the short term, not in the long term. Because in the long run, you need to get the heck out of the weeds. You need to delegate all the operations to someone else so you can step back as an actual founder and focus on strategy and growth. Every hour that you're stuck operating your business is an hour that you're not spending on something else. And that something else might be the new breakthrough or the leverage that you really needed to hit the next level in your business. Once you get to a certain point in your business, delegation is not optional. If you want to continue growing, and you choose not to delegate, then you're going to face stagnation and not growth. If you're someone that's fearful of delegating because you just think no one's going to be able to do it as well as you can, well, guess what? You need to get over it. The way that you're going to get better at delegating is purely by delegating. No one's going to be a master delegator or leader right off the bat. The way that you're actually going to get good at that is by getting some experience doing that. The way that you're going to get experience doing that is by actually doing that. Think about it. Would you rather stay stuck where you are because you're so fearful of hiring anyone and having it not work out, or you're so fearful of delegating work and then messing it up or making you look bad, and staying stuck where you are and literally not growing at all because you're too afraid of that happening? Or would you rather take the risk, hire somebody, invest time into them, relinquish some control, allow them to operate on their own without micromanaging them, and probably having them mess up some stuff because they're a new employee and that's what new employees do? But here's the kicker. You can learn from it. You can figure out how to fine-tune what they're doing. You can train them. You can get that experience of delegation. And as a result, you can get the benefit of the leverage of delegation. And you can finally free up some time and also get rid of your fear of delegation in the first place, which will then hopefully allow you to hire another person to do the same thing. The moral of the story is that you have to take risk in business if you want to grow. The same thing applies to hiring people and delegating work. If you remain too fearful or too cheap and you're stuck thinking short term instead of long term, you're not going to grow your business. You're not going to make more money. Every successful founder that's ever built a business understands this, and they push through this fear, and you need to do the exact same thing. So the next wave of virtual assistants and offshore professionals are all trained with the latest and greatest AI tools. This basically supercharges them in their productivity and their efficiency. They're trained on how to use things like ChatGPT, Zapier, Notion, and they understand how to actually prompt AI correctly and really leverage it to get the most efficiency out of their workday. Every offshore professional that you hire moving forward in 2026 needs to be trained on AI. If they're not, and your competitors are hiring offshore professionals that are trained on AI, they're just going to blow you out of the water. If you're operating in a competitive market, hiring global talent could be the biggest competitive advantage that you're not yet tapping into. And if your competitors are doing this, this is a great way to get the extra leverage and the extra efficiency that's needed to either catch up to them or just squash them. Countries like the Philippines and Mexico and Colombia and Egypt and South Africa are my personal favorites to tap into for really any type of role. Whether it's creative talent, it's marketing, it's sales, it's operations, it's customer service, it really does not matter. I'm able to tap into the correct labor pool in the correct country to source the exact type of professionals that I need very consistently. And look, companies have been doing this for decades. This is not a new concept. This is just becoming more and more common for the small business owner to do because of the new advent and adoption of remote work. Because previously, companies like Stripe or some of the big banks or United Healthcare or really all the big Fortune 100 companies, they had offices set up all around the world, and they were doing this exact same strategy that I'm talking about in this video. The main difference now is that COVID accelerated work from home jobs. People got a taste for what it was like to work from home and not have to commute to an office. Maybe you even had the same experience yourself. And that wasn't just limited to people in the US. People all over the world had that same experience. And as a result, what's really happened is there's been a huge surge in demand for people applying to these jobs. So the top tier talent that previously was not accessible because they were working in an office for one of these companies that I described is now available because they want to work from home. And hiring remotely will not only save you a ton of money on payroll, which who doesn't love that, but it'll allow you to test new roles in your business. Let's say there's an experiment that you want to run on a certain project or department or a specific role, but you're not quite confident it's going to work out. You're kind of rolling the dice and you're going to see what happens. If you had to hire someone locally and pay them a US salary to run that experiment, let's be real, you're probably not going to do it. There's too much risk. It's going to be too costly. It's going to be a giant pain in the butt. But since you can hire people offshore for significantly less money, literally 80 to 90% less, you'll be far more likely to run that experiment. And if that experiment ends up working out, that could be an absolute game changer for your business. In summary, hiring global talent not only saves you a lot of money, but it allows you to take more risks, scale faster, and be far more flexible and nimble than you were before when you're limited to hiring locally. So my goal personally in the businesses that I've been building for myself is really to replace myself in my business. I'm building my companies in such a way that no department or workflow or really anything at all is relying on me whatsoever. I can step back and take a vacation. I can go start another business. I can go do basically whatever I want, and my business doesn't miss a beat. Now, this isn't completely possible for every type of business model. Sometimes you might still have to be present as the founder, especially if it's a service business where you are delivering the service yourself. But even then, maybe you should look into seeing if you can hire someone else to fulfill that service so you can remove yourself. But generally speaking, most businesses have a ton of room for improvement with replacing the founder. I've made another video before talking about exit planning and selling your business and how removing yourself from the business and removing key man risk, which is sometimes the founder, is very, very important for increasing the valuation of your business when you go to sell. Not only can you sell your business for more money if you choose to do that, if it's not dependent on you, but when you build a business that is not dependent on you as the founder, and you basically replace yourself in every single area, you're building a more structurally sound business. This helps significantly with risk management, especially when your business is just getting started and it's a lot smaller. Oftentimes when businesses are smaller, they're also more fragile. Certain team members quitting, certain clients leaving, things like that can really cripple the business or even put it out of business. The founders in 2026 that are really going to crush it and make the most progress are going to be the ones that replace themselves in their business, hire offshore professionals, hire way more professionals because they're hiring offshore, and train all of those people with the latest and greatest AI tools. So that's exactly why I personally believe that every business moving forward in 2026 will need virtual assistants or offshore professionals. The truth is, this isn't really just a nice to have anymore. It's how modern companies are scaling without burning out. And that's exactly what my company does. So you don't have to go through the hassle of finding, vetting, or interviewing the talent. We simply place you with the best offshore professional for your business and whatever role you need to fill. So if you want to see how that could look inside your business, just click the link below and schedule a call to learn more.